Shalom. There is a lot to say in a person that lives lawful but is comfortable around lawlessness. Though you may be yourself walking in the law, your level of comfort around lawlessness eventually is going to affect you. Many don't want to accept that. When I was younger or in age, not like a child or whatever, I used to watch certain shows or whatever and had no problem. You know, Living Color, I see Wanda, didn't bother with that. Martin, see Shanae, didn't bother with that. But then, you know, Madea came around. Didn't bother me at first, because it's like, I don't live like that. That ain't, it ain't like I dislike or hate people that's like that. That's their life. So that was my thing. That's their life. But as you see, that became something that grown. To make money, it was acceptable to put on a dress, as they say. It's acceptable to be something that conflicts with your nature. All in the name of fun, all in the name of jokes, all in the name of making money. And so those that actually lived that lifestyle that may have been hidden became comfortable and started exposing themselves, and being out there more frequently. So it's like, man, now that's the norm. You can see that. You can see people in the military trying to be like that. You can see people in politicians trying to be like that. You see people in all ranks of of life basically comfortable being like that. And I'm like, I'm not the one to make them uncomfortable and whatever, but it used to be a thing when something was outside of the will of Yah, that people would have some fear that they may be judged, and not by human beings, but by Yah. They would be like, I don't know if I should be doing this. But now, people do stuff and be comfortable with it. They said, it's my lifestyle. Marijuana became legal. So people openly go out around smelling like weed. Even though they may have jobs that say they shouldn't smell like weed, they shouldn't smoke weed. But when they out and they ain't at their job, they be, you be like, man, I done caught a contact off you. I'm like, sure, I just seen something that said alcohol sales is down. And people were like, man, that's something. I'm like, the fact that you can get high, why you gotta drink something? Man, drinking was never that great to me anyway. A hangover from drinking, had you throwing up and sick and, feeling like you're gonna die, is not the same as the other. I'm not marketing the other or whatever, because, I done left all that stuff behind. I ain't touched none of that stuff in a long, long time. But hey, man, there's so much out here made for us to compromise who we are supposed to be in Yah. You get comfortable with it. I was comfortable coming up with women leading because that's all I seen. But as I, got into the word, I'm like, nah, that ain't how it's supposed to be. So people make it as if, you got this issue with women and all this. And I'm like, no, not really. My issue still, I keep saying, is with men, because men ain't stepping up into their role. Women wouldn't have to even attempt or be able to be in that role if men stood up. So many people always tell the story about Jezebel and how her situation was and stuff like that, and how evil she was. But if you really look at it, if Ahab would not have empowered her, like most of the stuff she did, she had to mark it up, and use the seal or the sigil of Ahab. She put out an order or a decree. It had to be in his name, otherwise it wouldn't get fulfilled. Because the power was in that man, but yet she was the one able to control that power because she manipulated him and made him basically subservient to, he was willingly, it wasn't like she made it, she didn't force it. He was willing to be subservient to this woman. He chose her over the will of Yah. And thus, that's why he died the way he died. He died basically shamefully, but hey, he was wearing another man's clothing, trying to hide, put that man in his clothing, and he got killed by a random arrow or spear. But he was told he was going to die. Didn't want to believe it. And he died. The prophet told him, Micaiah told him. It's so much going on today. You don't know what is what. I'm out here, married, finna be 23 years, so I ain't got to worry about the dating scene. You can call yourself dating a woman as a man, and that could be a full-blown man. The makeup thing is, you can have somebody that just toe up from the flow up, or somebody of a whole nother gender, and they look like everything that you desire. Don't let what attracts you, don't let what you desire get you mixed up. Get you mixed up and messed up. Oh man, it looks good. And not really know what it really is. Find out and then want to be angry. Character means so much. Integrity means so much. And nowadays, deception is key. People will deceive you in a minute, and that's how they get ahead. Those that have a word that's a bond like me, it ain't many of us. And we don't have, people valuing us like that. When I say what I'm going to do and I'm being consistent, it's a bother. Why don't you just compromise? Why don't you just comply? Why don't you, go along to get along? People get mad at me over my consistency. Regardless if I'm right or wrong, you can't say that I'm not consistent. I can acknowledge when I'm wrong. I really can. When I find out and figure it out, yeah, I can acknowledge it. And I'm gonna beat myself up more than anybody ever could when I find out I'm wrong. But I'm not gonna just accept what you say right off the rip. I'm gonna be stubborn with it. And that's how I think people should be. You shouldn't be able to be turned or changed your mind so easily. It should take some breaking down of that, especially if you built that up. But again, that's my thoughts. I'm not, one that believes that somebody should just hear somebody what they say and go with it. It should be proven. I don't just go with at how it looks. Man, she fine. No. Is she fine for real? Fine for real to me is a humble woman, a woman who's submissive, a woman who is going to build you up, encourage you on a regular. Do things that will promote you to get out there and put that hustle in. A wise woman builds her house, but a lot of these females nowadays tear it down. And I'm not blaming the females, because the type of men that's out here that's approaching them and stuff like that, and they always approach with their pockets and stuff like that. I be at work opening doors for women and stuff like that, and there's so many of them think that I'm trying to holler. Nah, that's just how I was raised. My mama raised me like that. So again, acknowledge to a woman, my mama raised me like that. So that's how, I got that from my mama. She taught me to be a gentleman. That's what I do, because my mama raised me like that. So I give honor to my mama all day. But as a man, I'm still supposed to be lead. So as a leader, I'm telling y'all, stop using your eyes for everything and start using your mind and your discernment, so that you can figure out things for what they really supposed to be, according to Yah's will, and not what it looks like. Shalom.